evening, and welcome to ESP.
And JAXS speaks.
How
Doing
are you?
E.
I'm
I'm
terrific.
good. I'm glad to be back.
Our timing is off. You could tell that we haven't been together in a while. Our timing is off. We're kind of floating over each other. Anyway,
It
happy
has.
birthday. Everybody was
Oh,
saying
thank
happy
you.
birthday. You're so welcome. You're so
Thank you. I
welcome.
started to wear my little tiara, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, it would have matched the sparkliness of the holiday thing. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. I hope y'all enjoy it,
See,
seriously.
I wanted you to sing, and I told you that because the chicks didn't do anything this year, so you owe me a song.
They didn't. Those chicks are all over the place, okay?
Yes, 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 yes.
But
Yes.
I guess
So
I'll have to pay you in kind.
you have to who?
Pay you in kind. I owe
Okay,
you a song.
okay. So Jax,
Yes,
2021, we're done. We're done with 2021.
that was a short year, a short and chaotic year, don't you think?
There was nothing short about it. First of all, 2021 and 2020 just kind of was smushed into one thing for me. So
I
I'm
agree.
I'm just trying to figure out what's what between co- the many levels of COVID, the different levels of COVID vaccinations, and the different levels of COVID variants. That was the thing that changed for me during the course of the year. Um, we had a lot happen this year, though,
We did a
politically.
lot.
So,
Well, first off, I heard that New York put a mask mandate back in effect, correct?
yep, we are. Yes, we are wearing that. Did we ever really stop wearing masks? But yeah, they're wearing
I
masks now, and
I
people are
didn't.
pushing back against them. I didn't take it off
Oh,
either.
speak about pushback. I had an interesting little interaction. I went into a store and I noticed that the sign changed from you don't have to wear a mask if you're vaccinated to you have to wear a mask. So, being that I always wear it anyway, walked in the store, held the door for a woman behind me, and the person at the register said, "Miss, you have to put on your mask," to the woman behind me. No, I don't. She was like, "Yes, you do. It's not a mandate." And she said, "Yes, the state has mandated masks indoors. I don't have to put one on." So the lady said, "I'm going to have to ask you to leave." So, of course, I couldn't keep my mouth shut. So I said to the woman, I said, and she had her daughter with her as well. I said, this is a private business and they have the right, whether it's a mandate or not, to ask you to wear a mask. Have you ever heard of no shirt, no shoes, no service? Just add mask to that. So we had a little back and forth and she finally left the store. But it's just we keep getting these variants, and now we're coming into winter, and they're expecting a surge within this next month between Delta, Omicron, and the flu. And you think about the level of just fatigue with our healthcare system. We're at a point. We're at a point.
Well, we're already up 33% in the hospitals in New York City right now with the Omicron. So let's go back to your math story for a minute, Jax. You know what really, listen, I'm all for masks. I have been wearing them from day one. Before they even required them because of the business that I was in, we had to wear them consistently anyway. So we were in N95s before the standard face mask became a thing. But my thing is, we're spending more interest and attention on these masks than we are on Roe versus Wade and how the government is affecting my reproductive organs or our reproductive organs. Are you looking at this new change with what's going on in Texas and how The abortion laws have changed so restrictively where a woman now, she might not even know she's pregnant. And once she passes, what is it, 5, 7 weeks, she's not able
Six.
to have 6 weeks, and she's not able to have, listen, the times that I was pregnant, I didn't know until 12 and more that I was pregnant.
That's the problem. Mm-hmm.
But you are fussing, you're spending more time fussing about wearing a mask than a woman's right to control her own body. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You have to think, on one hand, a lot of the people that don't want to wear masks are also the one that support these new laws. So I'm not saying across the board, but it's the same with the vaccines. Most of the people that don't take the vaccines are the ones that agree with this Texas law. Yeah, what's frustrating is abortion laws have not changed. The Supreme Court has changed, and Republicans have now found their opportunity to try and overturn Roe versus Wade. But we've got an interesting situation right now because Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, has now said he's going to take that same Texas law and turn it around for guns. So anyone can sue someone that manufactures a gun or sells a gun, so this is hopefully to make the Supreme Court stop and think about what they're really doing with this Texas law. If they let this law stand, vigilantism becomes basically legal. And I feel like we are right now, I don't know if you've ever watched The Handmaid's Tale, but we're on the precipice. We are on the precipice. You want to control my body and my life decisions, but once I have that baby, you could care less.
This is the thing. Who's helping me take care of that child that you forced me into having? Oh, I'm sorry. No, we give it up for adoption to all the, you know what? See, you're going to get me on a whole nother. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you talk for the whole show because we've missed you so much and you've got a lot to say. So today is JAXS Day. Knock yourself out. Democracy's in trouble and go.
I've been consuming a lot of news, especially political, and I don't think a lot of people really understand how dangerous a period we are in right now. Democracies don't fall in the dead of night. Democracies fall together. So if you notice, democracies are falling around the world. And right now, ours is in peril. I heard an amazing speech by Reverend Raphael Warnock, a Georgia senator, about voting rights. Now, listen to this. The filibuster, Philly and her brother Buster is going to be the demise of our democracy if we let it happen. So recently, Mike Lee, a senator, wanted to put an amendment on Biden's mask mandates. What did they do? They carved out a special rule for him to be able to do that. The debt limit needs to be raised. Republicans didn't want to vote for it. So what did they do to make sure that it got done, but Republicans didn't have to own it? They carved out a rule in the filibuster. Mm-hmm. Why is it we cannot carve out rules for the filibuster for voting rights? Why is it that Republicans are blocking any kind of legislation on voting rights? Republicans are right now amassing a war on a local level in states. They are recruiting and getting people to run for local state boards, local state legislatures, and that is how they are going to subvert our democracy. Let's take Georgia, Fulton County, for instance. And I'm sorry, y'all, if I seem to be going here and there, but all of this ties in on so many levels. Let's take Fulton County, Georgia. In 2020, Fulton County turned out and turned Georgia blue. This is where the call with Raffensperger comes in with Trump. We need 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have. Come on, man, do it. So now, since they weren't able to have people like the Secretary of State follow their plot, their coup, they are now getting candidates to run for these positions that they know the next time around they would be willing to do the wrong thing. So, and they're also putting into place laws where, let's say Fulton County voted for the Democratic presidential candidate. The Republicans don't like it, so we're going to come into Fulton County and we're just going to take over. And we're going to put our electors on because we don't want the Democratic candidate to win. This is what's happening. For the longest time, most of the ire was about, oh, we can't get food and water in a line. We can't vote on Sundays. And don't get it wrong, that is voter suppression. But the real thing we need to be worried about is them overturning the will of the people with their new laws. There are now 33 laws in 19 different states that are subverting the will of the people. Reverend Warnock talked about this last night. He is one of the best orators in that house, in that chamber, which has now become a slum. But, you know, you have people out here hunger striking for the Democrats to do something about democracy. Now, here's the thing. Biden has done a lot and he's getting pretty much bad reviews on everything because the economy is doing amazing, but we have inflation. So what the Republicans do is they gang onto that rage that's gonna get their base riled up, and they just keep hitting it. They just keep hitting it. So I'm sorry, you guys. This is
no. Listen, they haven't heard your voice in a while. Keep going.
If there was anything else that I ever thought I would fight for, this would be it. My thing is, he's done a lot. He's done a lot for us. He's put money in people's pockets. Jobless rate is the lowest it's been since the 1960s. But yet and still, everybody thinks our economy is doing really bad because of the supply chain, which had everything to do with the pandemic, which is now opening up again. But here's the thing. Build Back Better, how they are trying to pass this before Christmas, it's great. It's a great plan. It's going to help a lot of people. But what will it matter if our voices are not heard, if our democracy is no longer? It won't mean a thing. It won't mean a thing. And I just want people to know that this is not just, oh, yeah, you know, they're being crazy, but we'll be okay. We won't be okay if we don't fight to be okay. And that goes from everything from abortion rights, voting rights, police reform, not defund, reform, everything. They are blocking. The Republican Senate leader just came out and said, there's no platform for 2022. We're not running on anything. What we're running on is rage, your rage. We're going to keep pushing the big lie and keep you fired up to get you out to vote. But we're not going to do anything for you. So,
wow.
That's where we are. Kind of.
Okay, Jack, take a breath. Okay. Now, politics has always been your thing, which is wonderful, but you've given them a flock of information. How about let's peel it back a little bit. Let's go back to Georgia. And there was something that you said, all of the points that you said are very true and very relevant, but here's what's happening. The everyday person really isn't paying attention to what's happening, and that's what's getting in your craw. So peel down the voter rights in specific for the audience that is not aware. They hear the terms floating back and forth if they're listening to news. You and I are news junkies, so we always have this stuff filtered into our psyches and everything that we do during the course of the day. But there are some people who don't turn on news on purpose. There's some people who don't want to hear about it. But when it comes to an election, the damage is already done or about to be done, and they have no idea how they got there. So take this opportunity to just peel it back a little bit and get more specific with the family to let them know, hey, stop. You got to look at this now before it becomes a problem or a bigger problem in 2022.
Well, for me, peeling back would probably take me back into this same dangerous loop because everything is so connected. So what I'm going to do instead is direct you to number one. There is a piece in the Atlantic magazine about all of this, about how our democracy right now is in trouble. It's on the precipice. I would suggest that every American pick it up and read it. Also, I think now is the time to join the fight. And that doesn't mean you have to be out in the street. You know, some people can't do that. But this is what I did Tuesday morning. The Democratic caucus had their caucus meeting on Tuesday morning. I called Senator Chuck Schumer's office and said, I hope you bring up voting rights at your meeting this Tuesday. And I plan next Tuesday to call him again and ask him, did you bring up the voting rights last Tuesday? I hope you do it again this Tuesday. What you need to do, write your senator, know who your local representatives are and start hitting them. Letters, emails, phone calls, start hitting them and tell them that you are concerned about American democracy and they represent your voice and you need them to act. And you need them to act swiftly and strongly. And that is probably the best way that I can kind of wrap all of this into a whole ball because it's so infused right now with everything. Abortion rights leads to voting rights. These bills that are trying to be passed leads to voting rights. The filibuster and what they're doing in the Senate leads to voting rights. They tell us all the time, your vote, that's how you fire and hire people. Yeah, well, right now we don't have time for that. We need legislation. We need real legislation in Congress. And I think if the American people start calling and contacting their representatives, they have to hear. And then if they don't do anything, we hold them accountable. It's kind of hard. You feel like you're sitting with your hands tied and, you know, like you don't matter much, but you do. You do. And we could be in a totally dystopian world in 2024. So that's all. It's real. It's real. It's
Yes,
not.
it is. Yes, it
It's
is.
not hyperbole anymore. It really isn't.
With your Democratic colleagues about this and that point that you were making, that Republicans have plighted their troth on this and they shouldn't be let off the hook for that. They should be held to account for it. But when it comes to acting, it's never been more clear that it must be Democrats who act. Now that there have been these two exceptions made in the past couple of weeks on the filibuster rule, now, frankly, that the January 6th investigation has revealed so much terrible backstory in terms of how serious the plot was to overthrow the election and to pervert the administration of the election in 2020. Do you sense any movement, any shift among your Democratic colleagues to your way of thinking on this?
We've been having some encouraging conversations. I've been talking to many of my colleagues, including Senator Manchin, and I've been talking to Leader Schumer, others throughout the weekend. And I'm going to continue to make the case because, again, I think this is the most important thing we can do this Congress. We make a terrible error of judgment if we behave as if these are ordinary times. These are no ordinary times. And if we don't do something to protect our democracy, Here's my fear, Rachel. I fear that we may well have crossed a Rubicon that will make it difficult for us to get back what we imagine, what we take for granted as a democracy. Democracies don't die all at once. It's a little bit at a time. And anybody who's paying attention right now ought to be concerned. The good news is we have the power to act. We can do something about it. We proved it last week because why? If we didn't act, the economy would be in crisis. And I thought seriously about voting against raising the debt ceiling, but I was thinking about the people back home. I was especially thinking about the most vulnerable members of our community who are not resilient, who would suffer loss that perhaps is unimaginable if we didn't do the responsible thing. Well, I shudder to think what will happen to our democracy if we don't defend it. We changed the rule last week. We ought to do the same, live up to our duty. You know, politicians make a lot of promises when they're running for office. But the one thing that I swore to do when I put one hand in the air and the other on the Bible, I swore to defend the Constitution. And I'm determined to do that. And I hope that my colleagues will live up to this moment.
So let's shift out of voting rights and move into the elections and election placements, because we have Hochul, who just came in to sub for, who replaced Como.
Mario. Mm-hmm.
And we also have the election for mayor, where we now have Eric Adams, who is about to go into office, and Jamali Williams, who I just think that that's such a joke that he's going. Who voted for him? I'm sorry. Did that come out? We have a public advocate that doesn't do anything for the public. And you know what pisses me off? Tony Herbert was an amazing candidate for public advocate. I mean, this man, in your face, strong ethics, strong character, willing to open his mouth and fight for the people. How in the left hell did this man not win this election up against Jamani, what's his last name? Williams.
It's Williams.
Yeah. I don't understand. What has he done since he's been in office, Jack?
I don't know.
See, rest my case. Anyway, so we touched on that, but my big I'm thrilled that Eric Adams won. I'm thrilled that we're looking at someone who he's lived in the city. He's lived in the best part of the city. He's lived in the worst part of the city. He's grown up as a working class man. He's a Black man. He knows the struggle. He was a former cop. He knows that struggle. So I'm excited to see what's going to come of this. So he's brought in a brand new chancellor. He's brought in, as of yesterday morning, he's brought in a brand new police commissioner, which is a woman and a woman of color. So, I mean, that's what they've done this year. Women have taken over this year. Women have really come into the playing field this year, and women of color have come into the playing field this year. So I'm excited about that. But we're going to take a quick break. You're sitting with ESP and JAXS. We'll be back in a moment. Don't leave, because Jack's got a lot more to say. Back in 2 seconds.
the way that I feel and I love how I do this. It's just like everybody around me, cause we all love the music. I got my people with me so we can act the fool and party all night. I had to call them first and give them the advice. It's a party, 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 it's a party. A party ain't a party till I step in, and that work is a set that I'm repping. I'm still, hey, where the party at? Catch me at the bar where the girls be heading now. I ain't mean to rub your wiggling pole.
Okay, it's a party. It was IAS Live Music Review. Okay.
And you said it right. When I first got that, I drove them crazy because I kept leaving out the live, and they were like, oh my God, we'll say it. You don't have to say it. So you got it right. That's great. Thank you.
So E, what else do you have on your plate of topics?
Ooh, well, there's just so much to even talk about, but I really wanted the family to hear your voice because they haven't heard you in such a long time. The only other thing that I can think of that really, well, there's really so much that interests me, but one of the things that got me this week was Ras Baraka. He's the mayor of Newark. I thought it was interesting that he now, if you want to feed the homeless, if you want to like help out, and if you're a organization and you're packing lunches, or whether it be bag lunches or whether it be cook food in an establishment for the homeless, you need a permit, which I thought was really, really interesting because this is something that I have always thought about. Just because you feel like being benevolent, which is great, and you want to help feed homeless and help people out and give away food, also great, especially in this time period. But just because you want to do it doesn't mean that everybody who's doing it has the best intentions at hand.
True.
He was having a problem up there because people were getting, the homeless people were getting fentanyl dosage in the food, and all kinds of drugs, illegal drugs, and in the food.
Wow.
And some of the food was not up to code, so to speak. So he thought the best possible thing for him to do was have a city ordinance where you have to file for a permit. And of course, you're always going to have pushback. You're always going to have people, what do you mean? We're trying to help homeless. We're trying to do this. We're trying to do that. And now if you're a church, and the churches are the ones that are making the most noise about this, if you're a church, just file. We know that you want to do the right thing, but again, unfortunately, there are some people, even in a church team, that are coming in and they're doing something less desirable and very nefarious. So I agree with him 100%. I thought that was really, really interesting.
It makes sense. It didn't hit me at first. At first, I'm thinking, what, a license to feed the home? Makes sense. Complete sense. There are some depraved people running around right now.
There are, but you think about it. You need a license to sell food out on the street. If you're selling, if you're a vendor, you need a license. So just because you want to give something away does not mean that it's okay. I mean, even look at Halloween. There were kids that got sick because these creepy, crazy people were packaging cannabis and everything in these containers that look like child-friendly. They look like M&Ms and all of that, and we're giving it to the kids. And it's scary. It's scary. You know what, Jax? I don't understand. Here's what I don't understand. Here's my biggest thing. You asked me in the beginning of the show about 2021 and what was the most impacting thing. The most impacting thing for me is if you have lived the last year and a half, 2 years, and this whole situation of COVID, lockdown, being out of work, being back to work, having to wear masks, having to get vaccines. If this whole thing hasn't changed you as a person in some way, there's something wrong with you. Because number one, once we came outside, once we came back into functioning as people, the large percentage of us, the only thing that we were ready to do or wanted to do was love and reach out and touch each other. There was a sister that we had on, and this is while you were sick. Her name is Caroline Blair. One of the most impacting things that she said was she's a doctorate, and she was running a couple of classes for sociological, helping people's their psyche. And she would do a massage therapy in a small group once they were vaccinated and everything. And she got these tremendous results with something so simple. She started out with you giving yourself a hand massage. Then you were able to turn to the person next to you and give them a neck massage. And one of the people who came up to her afterwards said, I did not realize how much it meant to me to be touched by somebody else. I was in lockdown for so long, and we've been away from each other for so long, just to be able to touch someone else was just so impacting that it changed me. So I thought that was really important for her to have said in that moment, because it stuck with me. And as I look at people coming out of this thing, as I look at how we're trying to re-enter society, it hasn't changed a lot of people. People have become more angry. People have become more horrible. And forgive me if that sounds naive of me to say, how can this possibly happen? But JAXS, how can this possibly happen? I wanted to love people more. I wanted to reach out to people more. Even the kids, the desire to be amongst my peers was there more. How is it that people have gotten more miserable and more horrible and more dangerous through all of this? Please explain that.
I don't know if it was the lockdown, the solitude, or just the atmosphere of everything that's going on, but I definitely noticed like there's a shift in folks when you have people, like I saw a couple at a McDonald's drive-through and they were railing on the person at the window because they ran out of Splenda for their coffee. Like, really, people? I don't know. Something has definitely shifted, and I don't know what the cause of it is. I really don't. But I agree. I thought people were going to be a little bit more compassionate, understanding. I'm not saying, across the board, but there's definitely been a shift.
Well, I hope that there's a shift for the better in 2022. I'm praying. I am hoping. I am I know that I've been trying to make myself better in terms of adapting to situations and being more tolerant, because there are a lot of people who sat on my left, right, and center nerve, and I've had to just, because I want to give consideration to other people, because, life has not treated the last 2 years has not treated some people well, and they've gone through a lot. And I know I've, at last count, I lost 77 people. And out of the 77 people, 35 of them were direct connections in terms of being family. And then the next level of extended family, about 22 people. So that's a lot. And I know you suffered a tremendous amount of loss as well. But let's hope that 2022 is a greater period of healing for us and we have more tolerance.
I'm sorry. I can cross my fingers and pray, because if I'm being honest, I've noticed a shift within me too, because I was always that one giving people the benefit of the doubt, or holding the door open for somebody. Now I'm just like, I'm a little jaded, as my mama used to say. I'm a little jaded, but I'm trying to be better. So
I mean, I even drive different. I was always an aggressive driver because I drove big trucks. I drive a smaller vehicle now, and I tell my youngest I'm an old lady now. It's like, you're not an old lady. You're just being cautious because people are stupid. And I'm like, for a 17-year-old to say that, that's intuitive. He understands that people are acting kind of crazy, and I slowed down because of that. I mean, I do 40. I used to do 60 and 70. Well, the fact that there's uh, speed cameras all over New York City because of de Blasio has really helped. But
we ain't gonna talk
you know
about my
what?
numbers.
That's a subject that we're nah. We're not eking by on that one. You were asking me in the beginning of the show what the thing was with me in 2021, and I realized it's de Blasio. That man. Listen, let me hold myself together, because this man. And now you're gonna start laughing. You're gonna make me laugh, but I'm dead serious, because this man needs a swift kick on his way out the door. What the hell has he done to this city? First of all, you let all of these damn Ubers. There are people driving Ubers who cannot drive. I would not get in a car with these people if you paid me, but nonetheless, several years ago, you open up a program where Uber says, hey, everybody, want to make some money? Let's all drive. They realize that people don't have good cars. So what do? They let them buy cars. They let them lease cars. So basically, there are people who really didn't want to be drivers, who just needed the car. And this was an easy way, because they helped finance them. You went the whole of LIC where they had their original office at. It was ridiculous. You went up to Uber, you signed up, you pay a fee. They took you and they let you pick out a car, and then you were on the road, and you had to grind because you were paying the car out of what you were making. So they would take their money out, and then you were paid. So you had these people all over the place. You had a whole influx of cars and people who did not know how to drive them. Now, we had seasoned drivers in New York City who were already having issues with other seasoned drivers. You take non-seasoned drivers. Listen, let me stop there. In the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s, you wanted to be a cab driver. You had to go downtown and you had to take a test, and you better know this city like the back of your hand. These people are counting on the Garmins and the GPSs and all of this. You know, GPS don't work properly when you have cloud cover over. Okay, then add to the fact that they just cannot drive. Then you have young people driving on top of that, because teenagers deserve to go into their transition of life where you're 16, you get your little car, and you learn how to drive. But damn it, now you want to take away parking spaces. All of a sudden, you driving down the street and there's a whole flock of bicycles on the corner. So that's 6 parking spots that are gone. Then you decide you want to turn the other half of the city into green streets, or whatever the program was called. Because now we don't have enough parks. Stop building buildings. Maybe you'll have some parks. Because God knows you're not putting the homeless in them. You got a whole. Do you know how many buildings the city has that go empty, that they rent spaces for $1? There's a website where you can go, as if you're a 503c, you can bid on buildings that are empty in New York. And the homeless are living on the streets and living on the train. Did you see how much stuff I just stuck into that 5 minutes of talking of all de Blasio? Mayor for 8 years. How the hell he made the second set in the second term, I don't know. But you do all of this and say that I ran the city really well? Come on. Really? De Blasio has messed this city up. And you know what his crowning achievement was? 5 hip hop concerts over the summer.
Oh my. I have no words for de Blasio, okay? No words. I don't know how he got elected the first time.
Okay. And then, on top of it all, his name is not even Bill de Blasio. Listen, JAXS, if I gave you a fictitious name, people ask me, where did ESP come from? Is ESP because you see things in advance? And those are my actual initials, ESP. I'm not going to tell you what my government name, you know what my government name is, but that's my name. His name is not Bill de Blasio. His name is not even William de Blasio.
What is it?
His name is Warren Wilhelm Jr.
Wilhelm? Why? I wonder why the name changed. Interesting.
Warren Wilhelm Jr. Y'all go look that up if you think I'm lying. And maybe when you look it up and read it, they'll tell you why. I'm sure I've read why before, but when I found that off, that just drove me over the edge of the cliff because I had a problem with this man from the beginning to end. And if he does one more press conference and speaks bad Spanish at the end, I'm going to plot. Okay, I'm done now.
You good? You good? It's easy
I can't
to go there,
you
isn't
make me bad.
No, don't put that on me. I am a good ranter, though.
Oh my goodness, it's so nice to have you back. It really is. I missed you so much. Back. I'm so glad that. So, what are we doing for the New Year's? We're not going to be on Saturday. Actually, JAXS, we should do a special show on Saturday with like music and then just let it run for like Christmas music because it's Christmas.
It's a good idea.
So we can come on and read the night before Christmas.
If I can find an interesting like take on that would be cute.
We should.
Yeah, but yeah, the holidays are coming, and I don't know how you feel about them. How you doing? Are you like ready, as they say?
I haven't been ready for the holidays since 2011. No, lies. Yeah, 2011. I haven't been ready for the holidays since 2011. You're taking me into another zone, and now since we're here, let me get it out. For those of you who have family members near you, you have your sisters, you have your brothers, and you have your mom, and you have your dad, embrace the holidays. I was blessed enough to spend over 50 holidays with my mother. And you never realize what you have until it's gone. So in this time of COVID where we have been away from each other and we're coming back together, take the time to do the right thing, whether it's masks, whether it's booster shots. We're not even going to start talking about these damn boosters. So yes, whatever you need to do to be with your family this holiday, do. Whether it be taking a vaccination, whether it be wearing a mask, do what you need to do because life is precious. That's the one thing, JAXS, that we should have all learned. Life is fleeting. Life is precious. I hear people say life is short. Life is not short. Life is the exact timing that it's supposed to be for each individual. If you're supposed to go in a biking accident, if you're supposed to go in a car accident, that was your time. So that's the exact timing. It's not that it's short. It's what you do with the timing that's important. So embrace every moment this holiday. Embrace the food, embrace the energy. And for those of you who still haven't gotten over whatever nonsense kept you from speaking to people and kept you from interacting, it's really time for you to grow up. It's time to grow up. It's time to level up. And it's time to move forward. Because once again, if this pandemic has not taught you to respect life and respect time, then I'm sorry, there is no help for your behind. And those people need to back away from me, because I am onward and upward and looking for development and growth in 2022, my dear. I ain't gonna say it's my year. I'm just gonna say I'm there for it. Whatever it is, I'm there for it. Because we didn't have to get up this morning. A lot of people wanted to wake up and couldn't. And I'm here. So I'm in the game to play. So let's get busy. Let's get back to life. Let's get back to doing.
Can agree with that. And I just want to say really quickly, for families and people that have suffered recently in the other states that were hit by that tornado, especially during this time of year, my thoughts, my prayers go out to you. I had someone that was actually in Kentucky. Thankfully, they were okay, but things like that just make you realize how precious life and people are. And even though I was bah humbugging it, I'm going to put on my Santa hat and my elf booties, and I'm going to spend time with my family this Christmas. So I hope all of you guys have a wonderful, blessed holiday season, and stay safe. Stay safe.
And say, I love you, whether you mean it or not, because it might be the last time you get a chance to say, I love you. And we love you. And we're so happy to be with you. Once again, we're happy to have JAXS back. We'll be coming up with so many new things. We've talked about this. We have so many wonderful guests that are coming on for the new year. And we'll be thinking about you. We'll be praying for you. We'll be hoping for you. We'll be meditating for you. We'll be chanting for you. We'll be doing all of those things for you. Why? Because you're not ordinary. You're extraordinary. And we will see you next time on ESP and
JAXS Speaks. You just say meditating, right? I thought you said medicating.
We can medicate too.